Hello, welcome to Annoyed Gamer. I am Marcus Beer and I am here to talk to you about stuff because that's what I do. Before we get started, I had a couple of topics on the boiler this week, but given that it's been a really kind of shitty week all told, to be honest with you, with what happened in Boston, what happened in the Middle East with the elections, and there was bombings there, what happened in Texas on Wednesday night, and just generally the shitty state of the world right now, I really found it difficult to get anything really ranty going. So instead, I put a message out on Twitter last night and you guys supplied me with a bunch of questions. 6 pages, in fact. So I am going to go and answer a bunch of your questions. Some of them will be treated with snark. Some of them will be getting proper answers. But anyway, let's crack on. Question the first from Chopperman. What happens if BioShock Infinite sales fail? Well, maybe they'll have to learn to put a decent combat system in. Look, the sales won't fail because the reviews have been too good. It's the best reviewed game of the year. Everybody's spooging over it. Me, personally, as I said last week, I really can't stand the combat. I mean, I've got to the stage where I'm at the very, very, very final level, and I've switched up the vigors. I've been doing that from the beginning, but I settled on 2 that work for me. You know, the combat is dull, it's repetitive, it's a chore. When I put down a controller going into the final boss battle so I can go off, smoke a cigarette, scratch my balls, stroke the cats, I mean, anything but actually go through that, that's a bad sign. And that's just my personal opinion. That actually segues nicely into a question from Manu Biggs, who just wanted to point out this story about this Swedish gamer who demanded a refund from Steam, basically because you have a fictional baptism scene in BioShock Infinite, and you have to go through that baptism scene to actually get into Columbia and progress with the game. There's no way you can skip around it. Now, he objected that because he's a Christian and it offends his religious beliefs. Okay, priority check here, sunshine. If you complain about a fictional character getting baptized in a video game that offends your sensibilities as a Christian, you have some fucking problems, sir. And I'm gonna start swearing. You know why you have fucking problems? Because maybe you should have a bigger issue with killing the hundreds and hundreds of characters in the game afterwards, or in any other game. In fact, you should probably just go to a log cabin near a fjord, catch some salmon, eat some lox, build some IKEA furniture, and stay off the internet, television, video games, and anything else in general, because honestly, you're not fit to mix with anybody if your priorities are that fucked up. Next question from Nils Paulson. Has the Wii U lost steam? Steam was never on the Wii U. Yes, the Wii U's totally lost steam. The games are trickling out. They're not coming out at the rate that we expected. Nintendo are continuing to lose ground when it comes to the big consoles. We're seeing more focus on the 3DS than we are on the Wii U, and that's unacceptable, but you know, that's just Nintendo. Next up, Jeremy Bennett wants to know, what happened to Rare? Where did Rare go? My history of Rare even predates Donkey Kong Country. I remember when they were Ultimate Play the Game and they made awesome Sinclair Spectrum 48K games in 1982 through to 1987. Alien 8, Attic Attack, Saberwolf, Underworld. They did a game called Psst that was all about killing bugs on flowers. The company had #1 hit after #1 hit. So yeah, I would love to know what happened to Rare. I mean, they seem to have disappeared, although we're hearing Killer Instinct reboots maybe. I'm not really interested in that. I would like to see Rare go off and create a whole new universe, a whole new world, or maybe pull back some of the characters from the 80s. A pseudo 3D version of Attic Attack or Alien 8 or Underworld. Love it, want it. I want Rare to come back because those guys are great. Crispin149 asks, why are fighting games so scarce? We've only got Injustice this year. Well, personally, as somebody who's not a huge fan of fighting games, I'm glad Injustice is coming out this year because I enjoyed it. But I'm also a comic book fan. I also like the Mortal Kombat style of gameplay. I'm not really too fussed on Super Street Fighter X Tekken Mega Man Cross Combo Toilet Edition. What we don't want is a franchise having a game hit every year. That's no good because the improvements are minimal and it's just a cash grab. So let's have a 2 or 3 year gap, and then come back bigger and better and fantastica, and then you'll be happier, and you won't bug me with questions like this. The Everyday Gamer asked, why are there a bunch of JRPGs coming out for the PS3 and the Wii U, but not for the 360? What's up with that? Well, that's quite simple. Japanese publishers don't really rate the 360 because it doesn't sell in Japan. It sells the rest of the world, but not in Japan, so they're going to make stuff that's going to sell in Japan, which is their core market after all, which means you'll get them on the PS3 and you'll get them on the Wii U, and then you get localized versions such as Ni no Kuni coming out on the PS3, and you'll get some stuff coming out on the Wii U probably. But yeah, Xbox 360, it's not a big figure for them because they know where their fan base is, and their fan base is predominantly Nintendo and PS3. Anthony Lozo asks me about my thoughts on esports. Do I think it's a complete joke or not? No, I don't. I mean, it's not my cup of tea. I don't like watching games. Hell, I don't even like watching games being streamed. I'd much rather get a controller or a mouse and keyboard in my hand and play the bloody things myself. But I know a lot of people like them, and honestly, anything that pushes games in a positive way, people getting together, people celebrating games, teams playing games, providing they keep the whole sexist bullshit out of it, you know, that's actually a really good thing for games, and people are starting to get good prizes, and these guys are being built up, and it's great. Hopefully they can be some good role models, and it's good to see a lot of the publishers supporting these guys. So look, you guys love esports, more power to you. Not my cup of tea. I'd rather play a game. Alex Flores is asking about Injustice on the Wii U and why it's inferior because there's no DLC and private matches and custom matches. Apparently they're going to be missing, and unfortunately Nintendo are not very good at third-party relations. Let's face it, they have one preferred third-party partner right now, and that's Ubisoft. Ubisoft basically are holding up the third-party end for the Wii U, and even they're getting a bit arsey where it's like, all right, we're taking Rayman and we're going to bring it to all formats later on in the year instead. Nintendo, yeah, they have their heads up their asses. Marketing is never really as good as it should be. They always put their own first-party stuff first. So yeah, why should anybody go the extra mile anymore? Let's face it, Nintendo is the Japanese console version of EA. Matthew Guest has asked about the Xbox Always Online rumors for the next version of the machine, and there's a couple of other people have asked about that and backwards compatibility, so I'm going to condense them all into one answer. First of all, I'm going to say that I'm getting sick of predictions. I mean, I've made a few myself, and I'm going to try not to do it anymore, because whenever there's a slow news day, some half-ass site is going to say the Xbox is always online, but it's not always online. It will be streaming, and it will come with a nose-picking device, and Kinect will have a sensor that farts and gives you smells, and then there will be a rack for your sex toys, and a cup holder, and maybe a toilet seat. I mean, all this shit we keep on making up, we're a couple of weeks from finding out. Microsoft will tell us. Do I think it's a smart move? I'm not making a prediction. I think it's a stupid move to have always online. I think they would be cutting their noses to spite their faces. I think they would be smart to have, you know, that option come in later down the line, because the broadband connectivity is not there in the US or in Europe. You have them in major cities, but outside you are lucky to get a really good internet connection. It's very rare. It would be stupid for Microsoft to go always on. William Pimlott wants to know, what do I think is the best summer release of this year? Well, I haven't played them yet, but I'm going to hazard a guess, and the one I'm looking forward to the most is actually Last of Us, because Naughty Dog are awesome. Last question, and this was from Alexis Green, who wants to know why the decision makers in gaming companies don't listen to gamers. I'll tell you why, because they have college degrees, because they worked at, you know, Pepsi and Halliburton and Adidas, and they brought these ideas in, and the bigger a company gets, you know, the more scared they are to protect their jobs, so they will go to the safer option every time. That's why we get games like Assassin's Creed every year when we don't need it. That's why we get Call of Duty iterations every year, and, you know, Medal of Honor, and everybody has to be in the shooter category. These people don't give a shit about games, they give a shit about money. Money being the bottom line. And more people are coming into games, because games is one of the few industries that, even though the sales are going down, we're still making more money hand over fist than ever before. And people want a piece of that pie. It doesn't pay for them to be risky and go off and do good stuff if you are a big games conglomerate. The bigger you get, the further away you get from your customer. It's called the Walmart effect. You end up appealing to the lowest common denominator. And you know how we can change this? Well, we can support more indies. You know, go and look at the indie developers. And, you know, not just on the consoles, on PC and on Mac and on the phones and stuff. Start supporting those guys and, you know, finding cool stuff that they do and share it with your friends. Get them to buy it. Obviously, the danger is George Lucas syndrome, where you go from being Luke Skywalker to being Emperor Palpatine and control of your own empire. You know, and it's always tough. It's cyclical. This thing always happens. Vote with your wallet. Step away from the next Call of Duty. I dare you. Don't buy the fucking thing. You know why? The gameplay will be derivative. It'll be the same as Black Ops and Call of Duty Modern Underpants and every other version. Ditto Medal of Honor. Ditto Battlefield. Let's step away from these fuckers. Let's go and find the cool people who are doing the cool stuff. And, you know, providing they don't have huge egos that are bigger than their fish heads, let's support them. All right, that's the show for this week. I know I answered way more questions than Michael Pachter ever does. He only does 3. And I'm only giving him a bit of shit because he made me the sausage in his bun. Yeah, exactly. It's as creepy as it sounds.
And I want to be the bun, and I want Marcus to be the hot dog, and I just want to hug him.
And Michael, my wife, has questions for you. She certainly won't let us go drinking scotch alone ever again. That's the show for this week. Follow me on Twitter. I am Annoyed Gamer. Thank you to everybody who gave us questions this week. And again, my thoughts go out to everybody who's been affected by everything that's gone on this week. Boston, the Middle East, Texas, things that happened in Greece on Thursday morning. I mean, it's just been a messy week for planet Earth. And I am annoyed and I am pissed because we just can't be nice to each other. See you next week.
See all of our shows and game reviews now on the brand new GT app on Xbox Live and the GT Originals iOS app too.